Hello and welcome to the Small Business Briefing. I'm Brian Kelly, CEO of the Small Business Association of Michigan.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Sarah Miller, Vice President of Marketing and Strategic Communications. We appreciate you joining us today. So, Brian, late last week, the IRS finally said something about the ERC, that's the Employee Retention Credit. What's the gist of it?
Yeah, this is a credit that last September, it's hard to believe it's been that long. It seems like this year is going by pretty fast, but probably not if you're waiting for an employee retention credit payment from the IRS. But they put all applications after September 14th in moratorium because they were concerned about fraudulent claims being made. And there were so many of them. I want to say somewhere around 80 to $85 billion in ERC claims that were made. They were concerned, as with some other pandemic era programs, that there was fraud in these credit applications. So they've been pouring through them, digitizing information, and they hadn't really said that much until last week. And so what they said basically was they've created these categories. They've got one category of claims that they think are low risk and that they can start processing. There's another category that they consider like clearly fraud or inappropriate, and that was like 10 to 20% was the estimate. And then all the ones in the middle are ones that they have some concerns about, but they need to investigate further. And so it really was I thought a pretty small percentage of the total that they felt comfortable with processing, 10 to 20%. And the rest of them will fall into other categories that they need to investigate. So it's been quite a long time, 8 or 9 months now of this like investigation, and it sounds like they've got plenty more to do.
Do we have a sense of timing on when these might be resolved?
They indicated that the ones that I mean, that's not the word they use, but the ones that are more like slam dunks, like these were clearly okay, or they don't really have any concerns about. They tried to. I felt like they were tempering their expectations that it could be later on this summer, like yet this summer of 2024, that they would start processing some of those. But it wasn't like we'll process them this summer. It's like they'll start and it's going to be slow. I mean, they laid it out that way. I think to really try to set low expectations that even if you're in that category that they viewed as more straightforward and clearly eligible, that they will not be processed quickly. They seem to be quite concerned about, it's like, I think, embarrassment, that if there are fraudulent claims that get paid, they're accountable for that. And but on the flip side of it, of course, a lot of businesses that definitely qualify and are relying on this money. It's been now in some cases well over a year that people have been waiting.
And people who have tuned into the briefing for a while and who are our members might know that we actually worked with two providers, two companies who helped people process these refunds. And so, Brian, do we have any, messages for our members who might have a pending claim out there?
Well, there's nothing that you need to do right now. They didn't say that we need this additional information, or if there was additional information that they needed, you would hear directly from them. So really the message is wait longer and see what happens. So they also gave, I think they were kind of setting for those who felt like they were, if there were some that were pushing the envelope too much, or just all in all kind of trying to defraud the system. They put in their press release. I thought it was kind of interesting. Like, here are the procedures to withdraw your credit application. Like, you won't get in trouble if you do this now. So I would say, I know it's none of our people that would be in that category. So for those who went through a professional process of evaluating, do you qualify for the credit, and having it well documented, the basis for it, there's nothing for you to do right now other than to wait. We are trying to gather more information, though. What we're really trying to understand is that is if the IRS is the changing the criteria to qualify for the credit. Now, it's in the law, so they can't technically change it, but the way that they interpret the law can absolutely be changed. And it's not clear how aggressive they're going to be with trying to deny more of these claims. Are they going to take what how the industry had interpreted it and how the IRS had interpreted it earlier and continue, or will they make big changes to it? We're trying to get to the bottom of that. It's not totally apparent at this point, but stay tuned, and we will continue to seek those answers.
All right. Next up, we actually have invited a special guest to join us today. We have Emily McGraw from Consumers Energy joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Brian, for a conversation with her about their amazing small business programs.
All right, great. Thanks, Emily, for joining us. As a reminder to our audience that we have a long-standing and strong relationship with Consumers Energy to try to bring energy savings to small businesses all across the state, and in this case, of course, in the consumers' territory. So, Emily, let's start out with just who you are, what you do, what Consumers is aiming to do here for small businesses.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Brian. Pleasure to be here this afternoon. And so I'm Emily McGraw. I lead our small business programs for customers. And what we are aiming to do is help customers, small businesses across Michigan, lower their energy bills by reducing their energy waste, how much energy they use on a daily basis.
Great. So let's talk about then the programs. Like what sorts of things come into play, and the other thing too, it might maybe to speak into a little bit is why, like you sell electricity, and why does it make sense for you to have programs for people to buy less of what you sell?
Yeah, let's start there because I love this question. The cheapest energy, the cleanest energy is the energy that you don't use. And so when we're able to help small businesses and customers in the state of Michigan reduce the amount of energy that they use, it's better for the planet. And it's better for our communities. It helps with our clean energy ambition because we don't have to build supply side resources for the energy that would have otherwise been used. So that's why we do it. What we do, we've got an incredible mix of programs for our small business customers. There's 3 ways you can participate and earn rebates on energy efficient equipment. The first way that you can get started is to sign up and schedule for a free energy assessment. This is where we'd have a trained technician come into your home, come into your small business. They will give you a customized report outlining recommended energy efficiency upgrades. While they're there, they will install energy efficient products. So things like lighting, water saving products. So that's the first track. It's a great way to get started and get familiar with energy efficiency and how to become more efficient in the energy that you use. The second option would be if you're specifically looking at lighting and refrigeration type equipment. You can work with, we've got a number of pre-qualified contractors that will perform these lighting or refrigeration upgrades, and they'll do all the paperwork. They'll submit the rebates on your behalf. And these incentives that you would get, they can cover up to 75% of the project cost. We always get the payback period under 2 years, so it's a credible business case there. And then the third way that customers can participate is checking out our small business store. We've got all sorts of energy saving products there. The prices are discounted at the point of checkout, so no paperwork's required. And we have free shipping on all the orders all the time. So lots of great offerings for our customers.
Yeah, great. And we've got, of course, some awesome experiences in connecting members with these services and the partnership that we have. Sometimes for somebody in the audience who's wondering whether or not this is relevant, it helps to just hear about like an example. Could you just a success story, something
Yeah.
that you've worked on, a case that might inspire somebody to say, you know what, I'm going to go forward with that first step, the assessment.
Yeah, that's great because that really helps bring these programs to life. So, for example, we worked with an insurance company in Kalamazoo, and we worked with them to help install a web-controlled temperature control system, ventilation, occupancy sensors, and this customer, this small business, is going to save $11,000 in their energy costs annually, and they are getting over $30,000 in incentives off the, rebates off the cost of their project. So that's an example. Just an incredible business case, and a payback period of 2 years or less is very, very aggressive. Something we're proud of.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can think of several examples too of our members that have taken these steps, and depending on the nature of the project, and in some cases just the percentage of the project covered by rebates and incentives was quite surprising, even even for those who kind of generally are aware this is out there, maybe not as big. I like to say, if somebody, like, if you're thinking about improving your lighting, if you've got air compressors or refrigeration in your operation somewhere, you've got a remodeling project that you're considering moving forward, for heaven's sakes, please get in touch with either the team at SBAM that connects directly in with consumers, or directly with the energy efficiency team, because in that design phase is when you can really maximize the amount of savings and rebates that you can get, and energy efficiency that you can achieve if it's designed with that in mind in the first place. So Emily, just from just a real kind of practical first step. So somebody says, that makes sense to me. I want to move forward with an assessment. I want to move forward with looking into this. What do they do?
Yeah, so go to our website, consumersenergy.com// small business.
Excellent. All right. And easy enough. And also, you can always go give us a call too at SBAM, and we will, like, we know the connection points too. If you want us to do that for you, we can make it happen. So thank you so much, Emily, for joining us today, and for the long-standing and very effective partnership in saving money and energy for small businesses.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks, Emily. And Brian, that website or web address for SBAM is sbam.org/energy, and members and non-members can request a personalized assessment from our team. All right. Well, thanks again, Emily, for joining us today. We do have a couple other topics to discuss. Next up on the list, Brian, is a new report from Bridge, Michigan on large-scale business incentives, and it was pretty eye-opening. Tell us more.
Yeah, this is one that, generally speaking, I think that the incentive programs that have been out there the last couple of years have been, there have been some concerns over how many of them actually come to full fruition, and how the incentives work, the cost per job, all that kind of stuff. We talked a lot about that. What Bridge did was they went through and just did the math. Now, these projects sometimes take years to happen, so that's kind of the asterisk on this. But even with that knowledge, there were incentives between let me see here, $1 billion in subsidizing the electric vehicle and battery plants, and that had been awarded over the last year. The reporting said that most of them have now been downsized and or delayed, and the total amount so far of new jobs that have been created stands at 200. Just literally 200 jobs, not 200,000 jobs, 200 jobs. The Now at the same time, the Bureau, and this again from Bridge, Michigan, so we would have known it as Bridge Magazine when it first started. They do a lot of really in-depth, like extra mile type reporting. A great source. During the pandemic, a lot of the charts and things that we used were sourced with Bridge. So they do a great job, especially with numbers and stats. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics indicates that during the same time that overall we're down about, where it's pretty even, but down about 3,500 jobs in auto parts manufacturing in the last 4 years. So, or last 5 years, I guess. So this when you consider like the overall, if you're to go back and look at all the different announcements in this sector of the job increases, as it was the incentives, billions of incentives, but a billion of a particular type incentive, 38,000 new jobs, like was the announcement, and here we are at June of 2024, and about 200 have come true. So as you see these big questions and the difficulty in moving something through the process, it's because these projects aren't moving, and part of it is like the market. So it's not that anybody was trying to deceive or wasn't telling the truth, or it's just that the projects, like what people thought was going to happen in the electric vehicle market and what has happened, two different things. And so it has caused a pretty big level of delay. Now, in many of these cases, the money is not spent until after something happens. So it doesn't mean that much in incentives has necessarily been paid out. That's not clear how much has been paid out at this point. I would point out the final thing I'd mention is that in previous eras of these incentives have been tied to a portion of the income tax for the new jobs that are created. So what Michigan has an income tax 4.25%. When a person there have started back in Governor Snyder's time in office, what it said was if jobs that meet a certain criteria are created, then those who create those jobs can capture and keep a portion of the income tax that is generated by these new jobs. So in other words, you can never have an incentive payout for something that didn't already happen. The job had to already be created. It was it was a nice structure, but it's back end loaded, not front end loaded. And these days, what a lot of the bigger companies are looking for is money up front to get these projects going. But this Bridge Michigan reporting, it was kind of eye-popping because I would have expected out of 38,000 jobs that, if it was 10,000, I think people would have said, why is it so low? But it was 200. And that would suggest that most just haven't even really gotten off the ground, or they haven't gotten anywhere past the construction phase.
All right, well, it definitely was eye-opening, as you said. Let's end today's show with a look at the latest rankings of the most American-made vehicles.
Yeah, this is always an interesting list that comes out. It's cars.com. They do this annual list, and they look at you got like American-made vehicles, but then there's this question, like in the past we've used shorthand like it's a brand, domestic headquartered business are American made, and the ones that are headquartered somewhere else are not. But what cars.com looks at is of the totality of the vehicle, what's actually made, what has the highest percentage that is made in America. And I bring this up because I was actually quite surprised about this too. Apparently, this is just something that hasn't caught my attention recently, because this is not a big change from before. But anyway, the most American, for the third year in a row, the most American-made vehicle is Tesla's Model Y. So that's number one. The other ones that made the list was Tesla's Model S and Model X. So Tesla had 3 in the top 10. Honda Motor Company's Passport, Odyssey, and Ridgeline. So Honda had 3. And Toyota had the Camry and the Lexus, so 2. And Volkswagen had the ID4. There was only one of the what we would consider like the traditional Detroit 3. And by the way, that was Stellantis, which is no longer actually headquartered here. Stellantis had the Jeep Gladiator, was number 8 on the list. So so Stellantis, formerly Chrysler. The that was kind of surprising to me that of the 10, only one was the Detroit 3 in terms of percentage of the vehicle made in America. These others that we traditionally wouldn't have thought of as American made, well, except for Tesla, of course, had higher percentages than those that are assembled in here in the Midwest. So a little bit surprising, but as I looked back on it, apparently that's not new.
All right. Well, before we say goodbye today, I do want to let everyone know that we have an owner-to-owner event actually later this afternoon in Macomb. I had pulled up my phone here to look at the location. Sticker Blitz actually in Warren. So that's later this afternoon if you're interested in attending. And then tomorrow we have a webinar about recent updates to the Fair Labor Standards Act. So be sure to tune into that as well. And then finally, on Wednesday, we have another owner-to-owner event in Detroit for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So all those event details can be found at sbam.org/events. Thanks for tuning in today. We will be back here Thursday at 3 p.m. Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody. See you on Thursday.